It started like any ordinary day at the Deep Space Communication Array. People were moving between consoles, checking readings, sipping coffee, and quietly chatting about minor technical problems. The atmosphere was calm, almost too calm, for the place that monitored signals from the farthest reaches of space. Everyone assumed that nothing unusual would happen today. After all, humanity had been listening to the stars for decades, and most of what they picked up were just natural cosmic noises or signals from satellites and probes. But then it happened. A signal appeared on the monitors, subtle at first, like a whisper among the regular cosmic background noise. The technicians glanced at each other, expecting someone to correct it as a glitch. But the pattern persisted. It wasn't random static. It had structure, almost like someone was trying to communicate. The signal had an audio component, faint but clear enough to pick up, and even a simple visual pattern, almost like a ripple moving across the screen. One of the junior engineers, still new to the system, asked quietly, "Is this normal?" No one answered immediately. The senior analyst leaned over the console, his brow furrowed. "No," he said finally. "This isn't normal." He typed commands quickly, amplifying the signal, filtering out the background noise. The image became sharper, more distinct. Patterns were repeating. There was intention behind it. Someone or something was trying to communicate. Word traveled fast through the room. Soon, the small team gathered around the main console. Everyone was trying to make sense of it. It was unlike any known human transmission. Even the language, if it could be called that, was alien. Strange symbols appeared for brief moments, and the audio had a rhythm, a cadence that suggested intelligence. The team members exchanged nervous glances. None of them had seen anything like this before. The head of the array, a composed woman in her 40s, entered the room. Her presence immediately quieted the chatter. She studied the monitors silently for a moment, then turned to the team. "Has anyone verified the source?" she asked. A technician nodded. "Yes, it's coming from outside the solar system, far beyond our planets. This isn't Earth-made." Her eyes widened slightly, but she kept her voice steady. "Then we have to assume this is something not human." The room grew tense. The weight of those words sank in slowly. Everyone knew what it could mean. Humanity had dreamed of contact with extraterrestrial life for decades, but no one had ever actually expected it to happen while they were on duty. They began tracing the signal, using every tool at their disposal. As they calculated the origin, excitement mixed with anxiety. It wasn't a simple task. Signals traveling across space can be delayed, distorted, or even entirely lost. But after hours of calculations, they pinpointed the source to a star system far beyond anything humans had explored. They weren't just receiving a random noise from space. They were receiving a hail, a clear attempt to reach out. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows over the array's facilities. No one left their stations. No one wanted to miss a single second. Each repetition of the signal felt like a heartbeat, strange yet familiar in its regularity. They started recording, saving every bit of data. They knew they were witnessing something historic. But then a new concern emerged. Who would they tell? How would the world react? The head of the array called a private meeting with the lead scientists. They discussed the possibilities, weighing the risks of going public too soon against the dangers of keeping it secret. The fear of panic was real, but so was the responsibility to respond properly. They decided to inform the Earth Authority, a global organization responsible for interstellar contact. Within minutes, high-level officials arrived. Their calm presence contrasted sharply with the tension in the room. They didn't rush or panic. Instead, they began reviewing the data, analyzing the signal with precision. Every gesture, every expression was measured. What do we know about the origin? One official asked. A scientist explained the calculations and the distance. It's far, but the signal is strong and intentional. Someone or something is trying to communicate. The officials nodded. They didn't speak about fear or excitement. They focused on the facts. Meanwhile, the team at the array tried to imagine what these beings could be like. Could they be hostile? Curious? Friendly? The mind raced with possibilities. For some, fear of the unknown pressed in, a cold weight on the chest. For others, excitement surged. This was proof that humanity was not alone in the universe, and that realization was both terrifying and exhilarating. Hours passed, but no one left their stations. The signal continued, repeating in the same strange rhythm, almost as if it was waiting for a response. The technicians tried sending test messages, simple mathematical patterns, images of the solar system, signals used in previous simulations, but nothing received a reply. Whatever was sending the hail was waiting for Earth itself to answer, not a machine. Late into the night, the room fell silent except for the hum of computers. Everyone was exhausted, but unwilling to leave. The signal had captured their full attention. It wasn't just a technical anomaly anymore. It felt personal. It was as if the unknown entity was expecting them to understand, to recognize its presence. The lead official finally spoke, breaking the silence. "We need to prepare a proper response," he said. The words were calm, but carried the weight of responsibility. This isn't just a signal. It's a message. And how we respond could define humanity's place in the galaxy. Everyone absorbed that statement. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. Here they were, ordinary humans, sitting at a remote facility, about to respond to something that had traveled light years to reach them. Their actions could be the first real contact between Earth and another civilization. Outside, the world continued unaware of the monumental event unfolding. People went about their lives, oblivious to the fact that humanity was being hailed by beings from a distant star system. Inside the array, every keystroke, every calculation, every careful analysis mattered. The room was quiet, but inside, hearts raced out as dawn approached, the signal repeated once more, clearer than ever. The team had decoded part of it. It contained patterns suggesting intelligence, and maybe even emotion. For the first time, someone dared to whisper, "They're waiting for us to speak back." And in that quiet, high-stakes moment, humanity realized something profound. They were no longer alone. And the decision of how to answer would not just affect the people in that room, or that day. It could affect every human being for generations. The head of the array looked at the team, her eyes steady but serious. "We answer carefully," she said. "We answer wisely. And we answer as Earth." And with that, the first steps toward humanity's reply were about to begin. The world outside still slept, unaware of the monumental moment, but the people inside knew they were on the edge of history, and nothing would ever be the same again. The moment the Earth Authority received the signal from the Deep Space Communication Array, a quiet urgency spread through the organization. High-ranking officials moved quickly but deliberately, understanding that this was not a routine situation. This was history unfolding, and every step had to be calculated. People who had trained for years for moments like this now found themselves standing at the edge of the unknown, trying to balance caution with the need to act. The lead official convened a private room, meeting with the top scientists and communication specialists. No cameras, no reporters, no outside interference, only the people who could understand and manage the situation. Everyone sat in tense silence as the signal data was displayed on a large screen. The patterns, the audiovisual elements, and the regularity of the hail were analyzed again and again. No one missed a single detail. One scientist pointed at a repeating visual sequence. "Look here. This part repeats exactly every 10 seconds. It's too precise to be natural. Whatever sent this, they intended for us to recognize it. Another added, and the audio pattern, it's like a rhythm, a language we don't know yet. But it's consistent. They're waiting for us to respond. The officials nodded silently. There was no panic in the room, only focus. They knew that the entire planet could be affected by what happened next. A wrong move, and it could trigger fear, confusion, or worse. But hesitation could be just as dangerous. This wasn't just about science. This was about diplomacy, strategy, and survival. After hours of debate, they decided that Earth would respond, but carefully. They could not send anything too aggressive or careless. At the same time, they could not appear weak or unprepared. A reply needed to be simple, clear, and authoritative. It had to show that humanity was intelligent and aware, but not hostile. The plan was drawn up meticulously. Every symbol, every pattern, every repetition was considered. Nothing was left to chance. Meanwhile, at the array, the team watched as officials prepared the reply. The room, once filled with quiet tension, now buzzed with focused energy. Engineers were adjusting frequencies, technicians were double-checking transmission systems, and scientists were running simulations to see how the message might be received. Every person understood the gravity of what they were doing. Every keystroke, every adjustment mattered. The officials reviewed the content of the message. It was short but carefully constructed. It included basic mathematical patterns, representations of the solar system, and simple images of Earth's position in the galaxy. It contained no words, no threats, no promises, just facts. And yet, embedded in the patterns was a subtle assertion. Humanity knew it was being observed, and humanity was aware of the responsibility that came with knowledge of the stars. Some of the younger staff felt nervous. One whispered to a colleague, "Do you think they will like it? Or will they think we are stupid?" The colleague smiled faintly. "We're doing our best. That's all we can do. They'll understand that." Finally, the moment arrived. The transmission was ready. The team held their breath as the lead official gave the command. Lights on the consoles blinked, indicating that the message was being sent. It traveled through the communication array, into space, and beyond the reach of any human-made satellite. For a brief moment, everyone felt the immensity of the moment. The message was moving across light years, carrying humanity's voice into the unknown. Then came the waiting. The room was silent, except for the hum of computers. No one dared speak. The usual chatter and laughter of technicians and engineers were gone. Every second stretched into an eternity. Would the aliens understand? Would they respond? Would they be friendly or aggressive? The uncertainty weighed heavily on everyone. Outside the array, the night sky was dark and quiet. People far below, in cities and towns, slept unaware that humanity was taking its first real step into interstellar communication. They did not know that somewhere far away, an intelligent species was receiving their message, and for the first time, realizing that Earth was not a planet to be ignored. Hours passed. Days could have passed. No immediate response came. The team monitored the signal pathways constantly, looking for any trace of our reaction. And then, finally, something changed. On the screens, a subtle shift appeared in the readings. The aliens had received the message, and they had stopped all other activity. Their fleet, previously moving with purpose, had become motionless, as if frozen in place. Analysts watching the data noted the irregularity immediately. This was not expected behavior. The Earth Authority specialists studied the anomaly. "They're hesitating," one said slowly. "They didn't anticipate this. Our message, it confused them." Others nodded in agreement. The pattern suggested that the aliens had anticipated a different type of response, maybe fear, maybe surrender, but what they received instead was confidence, calm, and awareness. Humanity had shown itself to be aware of its place in the galaxy. For the first time, the people in the room allowed themselves to feel the magnitude of the situation. This was not just a scientific event. It was a moment of power. Humanity, still a young civilization by galactic standards, had made an impression. And it had done so without aggression, without revealing its full strength, simply by demonstrating that it knew how to respond intelligently. The team began to discuss the implications. Could this be the start of a dialogue? Would the aliens retreat or attempt to communicate again? Everyone understood that these decisions would not just shape the immediate future. They could determine humanity's relationship with every intelligent species in the galaxy for centuries. The weight of history pressed down on them, but it was tempered by a sense of pride. For once, humans were not just listeners. They had spoken, and their voice had powered out at the array. Technicians returned to their consoles, double-checking every system, running simulations, and preparing for the next step. Even as the aliens hesitated, Earth's team was ready to adapt, ready to respond again if necessary. They knew that patience would be as important as speed, that observation could be as powerful as action. Meanwhile, the officials discussed strategy in quiet, deliberate tones. One senior leader said, "We cannot underestimate them, but neither can we underestimate ourselves. Our reply has set a tone. Now we observe. Now we learn. And we prepare for the next move." The others nodded. There was a sense of unity, of purpose, that the team had not felt before. This was bigger than science, bigger than politics, bigger than fear. This was the moment humanity began to claim its place among the stars. Outside, the world remained unaware, but within the walls of the array, every person felt the weight of history. They were part of something larger than themselves, part of a story that would be told for generations. They were the first humans to respond to a message from an extraterrestrial intelligence. They were the first to demonstrate that Earth would not be silent, that Earth would respond with awareness, authority. And careful thought dot, as the night stretched into early morning, the team continued their vigilance. Every signal, every ripple in the data, every tiny fluctuation was analyzed. And slowly, a realization began to settle over them. The aliens were not hostile, at least not yet. They were confused, cautious, uncertain. Earth's message had made them pause, made them hesitate, and that pause was an opportunity. For the first time, the people in the array allowed themselves to imagine what this could mean. Contact with intelligent life, a chance to exchange knowledge, a moment to redefine humanity's place in the universe. It was breathtaking, almost overwhelming. And yet, amid the awe and the excitement, everyone remained grounded. They understood that every decision, every word, every pattern sent into space carried weight far beyond what anyone could predict. Finally, as the sun began to rise, the team allowed themselves a small moment of relief. They had done it. They had responded. The aliens had received the message. And while no one knew what would happen next, one thing was certain. Humanity had taken its first real step into a larger universe. A universe filled with possibilities, dangers, and wonders beyond imagination. And in that quiet, sunlit moment, as humans prepared for the next phase of interstellar dialogue, the truth became clear. The galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. And humanity would never see itself the same way either. Far away, in a star system light years from Earth, a fleet of ships hovered silently in the void. The beings aboard had been monitoring countless signals for centuries, and their technology was far beyond anything humans had yet imagined. They had sent a hail to Earth, expecting a routine reaction, perhaps curiosity or fear. What they received instead left them frozen. The alien command center was filled with a low hum of machinery and blinking lights. Every screen displayed data streams, translations, and attempts to decode Earth's message. Analysts and navigators moved with precision, but there was tension in the air. Their sensors picked up the reply from Earth, and it was unlike anything they had prepared for. The patterns, the clarity, the intelligence, it all suggested something unexpected. One officer, responsible for monitoring interstellar communication, frowned. "This isn't what we anticipated," the alien said. The voice was calm, but carried a note of disbelief. They understood. They responded with authority. Another officer, scanning the visual patterns, repeated the observation. "The message is structured, precise. They are aware of us, and yet they do not reveal their strength." The aliens had expected a simple response. Maybe confusion, maybe fear, maybe a basic acknowledgement. But Earth's message was neither submissive nor aggressive. It was confident. It showed intelligence, coordination, and awareness. And most importantly, it showed that Earth understood the stakes. For the first time, the fleet hesitated. Ships that had been on autopilot froze in place. Systems that normally hummed smoothly now registered anomalies. Data analysts ran calculations over and over, trying to make sense of the message. They even tried sending internal simulations to predict Earth's potential capabilities, but the results were unsettling. The humans had crafted a message that implied preparedness beyond what their technology suggested. The alien general gathered the top council members in the command room. They had to decide quickly. Their original plan had been to observe, perhaps probe, maybe intimidate. Now, the uncertainty gnawed at them. "They are not like the others," one council member said. "They respond with awareness. They are cautious, but not naive, and they are organized." Another council member, younger and less experienced, spoke up nervously. "Do we retreat? Or attempt communication again?" Silence followed. No one had expected this level of uncertainty. The humans had managed, in one short transmission, to shift the balance of power in perception. The aliens had assumed dominance in intelligence, in experience, in reach. And yet, Earth's message suggested otherwise. In the fleet's observation deck, every analyst tried to dissect the message further. They looked for hidden meanings, potential traps, anything that could explain the humans' sudden confidence. But the message was clean. It was simple, yet powerful. The humans had not boasted. They had not threatened. They had only responded with awareness. And that awareness was enough to make the fleet pause. Meanwhile, the alien general paced slowly in the room. His massive figure cast shadows across the command center. He had faced countless civilizations, some aggressive, some cooperative, but never had he encountered a species that could project intelligence so clearly without revealing its true power. "They know we are here," he said quietly. "And yet, they do not fear us. That is unexpected." Another officer spoke up, almost in disbelief. "They are young. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but their strategy, their approach, it suggests experience we cannot measure." The room was quiet for a moment. No one wanted to admit it, but the humans had achieved something extraordinary. They had made an entire fleet pause, reconsider, and doubt assumptions that had guided them for decades. Back on Earth, the signal continued to reach the fleet at regular intervals. Every repetition was received and analyzed. The humans had crafted it to be precise, to convey intelligence without aggression. And yet, even with these careful parameters, the aliens struggled to interpret the implications. Each officer on Na, alien ships began to feel a strange mix of curiosity and unease. They had never expected a species to respond so effectively without showing its hand. The alien scientists began to compare this encounter to previous hails from other civilizations. In most cases, the response was simple, often panicked or aggressive, easily predicted. But Earth's reply broke all patterns. It was not submissive. It was not defensive. It was deliberate. It suggested a species that could think strategically, that could plan, that could communicate with purpose. The general realized something even more profound. They may be young, he said to the council, but they are organized. They understand diplomacy, caution, and timing. If we underestimate them, we risk more than just embarrassment. We risk a strategic mistake that could cost us greatly. The fleet paused in silence. Ships remained motionless, as if the entire armada was holding its breath. Analysts continued running simulations, but no calculation could account for the humans' unexpected confidence. They were outsiders to this galaxy, yet somehow they had projected a presence that demanded attention. Some younger officers began to whisper among themselves. "Do they have hidden technology?" one asked. "Are they more advanced than we think?" Their voices were tense. No one had dared speak this way before. The idea that a relatively young civilization could inspire such doubt was unprecedented. In the command room, the general finally addressed his council. "We must proceed carefully," he said firmly. "Our hail was meant to observe, not provoke. And now we must recognize that Earth is aware, prepared, and cautious. Any further actions must consider that they can respond intelligently. We do not know the full extent of their capabilities, but we know enough to pause." The fleet's navigators adjusted their positions, maintaining distance while monitoring Earth's transmission. No one moved hastily. No one made sudden decisions. Even minor actions were debated at length. This hesitation was entirely new. The humans had achieved what few civilizations could. They had instilled doubt. Meanwhile, the aliens attempted to communicate internally, trying to predict the humans' intentions. They sent test signals to Earth, simple pings, hoping to gauge response time, reaction patterns, and consistency. Each signal was met with careful precision, the humans' response showing the same calm and awareness as before. With each exchange, the aliens' uncertainty grew. The alien general finally admitted what no one else dared to voice. "We cannot treat them lightly," he said. "We have underestimated the implications of this species. We must observe, but with caution. And we must prepare for the possibility that Earth may not be a simple world to influence." For the first time in decades, a fleet experienced hesitation that went beyond tactical calculation. It was an emotional, psychological pause. The humans, though distant and technologically limited by comparison, had projected something far greater than machines or numbers could convey. They had projected presence, awareness, and intelligence. Back on Earth, the people monitoring the fleet had no way of knowing exactly what the aliens were thinking, but the patterns were clear. The fleet had frozen, communications were irregular, and the signals suggested confusion. The Earth Authority officials watched with a mixture of satisfaction and caution. The humans' careful, deliberate response had worked. They had made the aliens hesitate, but there was no guarantee of what would come next. The team understood that this was only the beginning. The aliens were not defeated, nor had they been threatened. They were cautious, uncertain, and curious. And that curiosity could be an opportunity or a risk. The Earth Authority began preparing for the next phase, knowing that any misstep could have enormous consequences. As night fell across the array, the team reflected on what had just happened. For the first time, humanity had made a real impression on an alien civilization. They had not used weapons, nor had they relied on deception. They had relied on intelligence, awareness, and careful communication. And in doing so, they had captured the attention of a fleet that had long believed itself untouchable in its confidence. The human team knew that the next days would be crucial. Every action, every message, every observation would matter. They had entered into a dialogue without words, a battle of presence and awareness rather than force. And for the first time, humanity began to understand that intelligence alone could be as powerful as technology, strategy, or firepower. And far away, in the silent darkness of space, the alien fleet remained frozen, unsure, and alert. Earth had spoken, and the galaxy had taken notice. For days, the alien fleet remained in place, their movements hesitant, their systems unusually quiet. Normally, the fleet operated like a well-oiled machine ships moving in precise formations, sensors scanning the universe, every officer performing their role with exact efficiency. But Earth's response had disrupted all of that. The humans had shown intelligence, confidence, and awareness. And now the aliens were unsure how to proceed. Inside the alien command center, the atmosphere was tense. Officers walked slowly, glancing at the main displays. Data analysts worked feverishly to interpret every nuance of Earth's message. The more they analyzed, the less predictable the humans seemed. Each repeated transmission from Earth suggested they were organized, aware, and ready. The aliens realized that their initial assumptions about humanity were wrong. The alien general, a tall, commanding figure with a presence that demanded attention, convened a council meeting. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of authority. "Our initial hail was intended to probe," he said. "We expected curiosity, perhaps hesitation. Instead, we have received confidence. They respond with purpose. They understand the implications of being observed, and they do not panic." A younger officer, responsible for tactical analysis, spoke up nervously. "They are still primitive compared to us," he said. "Our technology far surpasses theirs. Surely they cannot pose a threat?" The general shook his head slowly. "It is not their technology that concerns me," he replied. "It is their awareness. They understand strategy, timing, and communication. They are cautious, but they are deliberate. That is what makes them unpredictable." The council debated for hours. Some argued that they should withdraw entirely, avoiding any risk of provoking humans. Others suggested sending another message, trying to test Earth's reaction further. Every proposal was weighed carefully. The aliens had never faced a species that forced them to reconsider strategy simply through communication. Meanwhile, the humans on Earth continued monitoring the fleet. The array's technicians and scientists observed subtle changes in the alien ships. Sensors showed shifts in energy output, minor alterations in formation, and irregular communication patterns within the fleet. Every analyst in the room could see what was happening. The aliens were hesitant. They had never experienced hesitation like this in encounters with other civilizations. The lead official at the Earth Authority explained the situation to the team. "They are unsure of us," he said. "Our message has made them pause. That pause is an opportunity. We observe. We prepare. We do not act rashly. And when they make a move, we respond wisely." The humans understood the weight of what was happening. This was not just a moment of observation. It was a moment of influence. By communicating clearly and confidently, they had caused an entire fleet to stop, think, and reconsider. That was a rare and powerful effect, and it demonstrated that intelligence, strategy, and awareness could hold as much weight as advanced technology. Back in the alien fleet, discussions grew more intense. Officers debated endlessly, reviewing Earth's transmissions, attempting to predict their intentions. The general realized that any mistake could be catastrophic. If they misinterpreted humanity's intentions, it could provoke a reaction they could not control. And if they withdrew too quickly, it could signal weakness to the humans, potentially encouraging further boldness. One officer, frustrated, slammed his hand on a console. "We have never faced a species like this," he exclaimed. "They are young, inexperienced, and yet they command respect through their actions alone. How is this possible?" The general regarded him silently for a moment. "Do not underestimate them," he said firmly. "They are untested, yes, but their awareness, their preparation, and their clarity of action are beyond what we anticipated. That alone is enough to make any species cautious. Meanwhile, Earth's team continued their careful monitoring. They observed subtle readings in the alien fleet, noting changes in energy emissions, formation shifts, and communication pauses. The officials discussed potential outcomes, preparing for any possibility. They knew that the aliens were capable of significant technological actions, but they also knew that the humans' calm, deliberate communication had already altered the aliens' perception. Days passed in this delicate standoff. Neither side moved aggressively. Earth remained patient, observing and analyzing, while the aliens debated their next steps. The humans' calm and methodical approach was working. It had created uncertainty in the alien fleet, forcing them to question assumptions and strategies. That uncertainty gave humanity a strategic advantage. Even without advanced weapons or direct confrontation, the general of the alien fleet finally addressed his officers. "We must consider retreat," he said. "Our hail was meant to test, not to provoke. Yet these humans have made us question ourselves. They are organized, aware, and deliberate. We cannot risk making a mistake." A council member hesitated. "If we retreat now, will they interpret it as weakness?" He asked. The general paused, considering the question. "Perhaps," he replied, "but we will retreat with caution. We maintain observation. We do not show panic, and we continue to gather information. This species has potential we cannot ignore, and we must understand it fully before acting again." The alien fleet slowly adjusted its positions, maintaining distance while continuing to monitor Earth's transmissions. Every movement was deliberate, cautious, and calculated. They were no longer certain of their dominance in the encounter, and that uncertainty changed everything. Back on Earth, the team at the array observed the fleet's adjustments. They could see the aliens were hesitant, cautious, and uncertain. The officials explained that this was exactly what they had hoped to achieve. A pause, a moment of hesitation that allowed humans to observe and prepare. The communication had not only conveyed awareness, but had also subtly shifted the balance of perception. For the humans, the experience was exhilarating and sobering at the same time. They realized that they had managed to influence a fleet of beings far more advanced in technology, simply through intelligence, patience, and careful communication. It was proof that humanity could make an impact in the galaxy without resorting to aggression. The team began preparing for the next phase. They knew the aliens were still watching, still analyzing, and still uncertain. Earth had created an opportunity to shape future interactions. Every message, every observation, and every decision would carry weight. They would proceed with caution, but they would also continue to assert awareness and presence. At night, the people monitoring the array reflected on what had happened. Humanity had communicated, influenced, and observed, all without weapons, threats, or aggression. The humans had done something remarkable. They had caused a fleet to hesitate, to question assumptions, and to reconsider strategy. That hesitation alone was a victory, a demonstration that intelligence, clarity, and awareness could be more powerful than technology alone. And far away, in the alien fleet, the general continued to observe the humans' transmissions. He knew that the next encounter could change everything. He understood that these beings were young, yet deliberate, and that any miscalculation could be costly. For the first time in his career, he felt true caution in the face of a species that had not even demonstrated its full strength. The aliens continued to hold their positions, monitoring and analyzing, while Earth remained patient, observing and preparing. The balance of the encounter had shifted, and neither side could predict what would come next. For the humans, it was a moment of awareness, preparation, and pride. They had made the fleet pause, reconsider, and hesitate, and that pause would define the next steps in a relationship that was only beginning. As the night stretched into early morning, Earth's team continued their work. They refined their monitoring, simulated potential responses, and prepared for any eventuality. They understood that every action mattered, and that the aliens were now aware of humanity's intelligence, patience, and readiness. That awareness alone had changed the galaxy's perception of Earth. And somewhere far away, the alien fleet continued to hold position, cautious, hesitant, and alert. Humanity had spoken through observation, strategy, and careful communication. And in doing so, the humans had forced an entire fleet to pause, reconsider, and respect a species they had underestimated. The galaxy, silent and watchful, began to take notice. Days passed since Earth had sent its carefully crafted response to the alien hail. The signal continued to reach the distant fleet, and the humans continued to monitor the alien reactions. In the observation room at the Deep Space Communication Array, the team had developed a routine. Scientists and technicians worked side by side, analyzing every shift in the alien fleet, every subtle change in energy readings, and every variation in signal patterns. The atmosphere was intense but steady. This was a moment that demanded attention, patience, and careful thought. Earth Authority officials visited regularly, reviewing the data and guiding the team on next steps. They were calm, composed, and deliberate, as though they had faced such situations before. Their confidence carried over to the scientists, giving the room a sense of controlled purpose. The officials explained that the humans' measured, precise response had achieved something extraordinary. The aliens were uncertain, cautious, and hesitant. That hesitation itself was a valuable strategic advantage. One of the younger technicians, observing the latest readings, whispered in awe, "They're still frozen. It's like they don't know what to do." A colleague nodded. "Exactly. And that's because of us. Because of how we answered." The lead official gathered the team for a briefing. "Our response was deliberate," he began. "We have shown them that we are aware, organized, and cautious. We have demonstrated presence without aggression. That is why they are hesitant. And now we have a chance to learn more about them while keeping ourselves safe." The room fell silent, the words sinking in. The team realized that this was more than a communication exchange. It was a demonstration of humanity's ability to influence and shape interactions with a far more advanced civilization, all without weapons, threats, or deception. That realization brought pride and a sobering sense of responsibility. Meanwhile, the alien fleet remained in position, carefully analyzing each new transmission from Earth. Within the fleet's command center, the general and his council continued to debate their next steps. "They have shown us awareness," the general said. "They are cautious, deliberate, and prepared. We cannot treat them as we do other species. Any misstep could provoke a response we are unprepared for." An officer argued, "Their technology is limited. Surely we could overpower them if necessary." The general shook his head slowly. "It is not just technology that matters," he replied. "It is strategy, awareness, and decision-making. They think differently, and that makes them unpredictable." The council debated whether to continue observing from a distance, attempt further communication, or withdraw entirely. Each option had risks. Observing too closely might alert the humans to their full capabilities. Communication could provoke a reaction they could not anticipate. Withdrawal might signal weakness. Every scenario required careful consideration. Back on Earth, the team monitored these developments through indirect readings. Energy fluctuations, formation shifts, and irregular signals suggested that the aliens were actively analyzing humanity's intentions. Officials explained that these subtle changes indicated caution, not hostility. "They are still uncertain," one official said. "They are learning about us, just as we are learning about them." The team realized that patience was critical. Any rash action could undo the advantage humanity had gained. They continued to refine their monitoring systems, simulating possible alien reactions and preparing for a wide range of scenarios. Every member of the team understood that they were participating in something far greater than themselves, a real-time interaction with a civilization far beyond Earth's technology, yet influenced by humanity's intelligence and strategy. In the alien fleet, discussions grew more tense. The general convened another council meeting, focusing on the humans' unexpected confidence. "We expected hesitation, confusion, or fear," he said. "Instead, we have received awareness, clarity, and calm determination. That is what is disrupting us." "They are young, but deliberate." A council member asked, "Should we test them again? Send another probe message?" The general considered this. "We must proceed carefully. Any test must be subtle, without provoking aggression. We need to understand their awareness and decision-making, but we cannot risk revealing our full capabilities yet. Patience is our best strategy." Meanwhile, Earth's team continued to observe. They noticed patterns in the aliens' communication signals that suggested internal debate, caution, and uncertainty. Energy outputs fluctuated in ways consistent with hesitation rather than aggression. The humans had effectively created a moment where the aliens were considering, questioning, and waiting. That pause was a window of opportunity that the Earth Authority decided it was time to reveal a portion of humanity's preparation, but only internally to the team. The lead official explained that humanity had been monitoring for extraterrestrial signals for decades. "This is not the first hail we have received," he said. "We have been preparing for this moment for years, training teams, developing communication protocols, and simulating encounters. What you see now, the calm, deliberate response, is the result of careful preparation." The team listened in amazement. They realized that the calm authority displayed in their transmissions had not been random. It had been intentional, designed to communicate presence, intelligence, and awareness without revealing full capabilities. The aliens' hesitation was a direct result of this deliberate approach. For the first time, some of the younger technicians fully understood the significance. "We aren't just responding," one said quietly. "We're sending a message that we are ready, aware, and capable, even if they don't know our full strength." The officials nodded. "Exactly. Humanity does not need to provoke fear. We only need to demonstrate awareness and intelligence. That alone can change how other civilizations perceive us." Back in the alien fleet, the council continued to debate the humans' intentions. Analysts ran simulations, trying to predict potential responses. Every outcome suggested that humans were cautious yet deliberate. They did not act out of panic or aggression, and that unpredictability frustrated the alien commanders. They had expected a simple reaction. Instead, they were faced with a species capable of thoughtful, calculated communication. The general recognized that this pause was an opportunity to study humanity further without taking immediate action. "We withdraw slightly," he instructed, "but we maintain observation. We learn about them, and we prepare for any scenario." Their confidence cannot be underestimated. Meanwhile, on Earth, the team continued their monitoring, analyzing every nuance in the aliens' behavior. They observed formation shifts, energy fluctuations, and internal signals within the fleet. All signs indicated hesitation, analysis, and careful consideration. The humans had created a unique situation. They had forced an advanced civilization to pause and reassess assumptions simply by demonstrating awareness and intelligence. The Earth Authority continued to emphasize patience. "We do not need to act aggressively," the lead official explained. "We only need to observe, understand, and communicate wisely. The aliens are learning about us, just as we are learning about them. Every moment of observation adds to our knowledge and strengthens our position. The human team understood the importance of this approach. They continued to analyze, simulate, and prepare. They refined strategies for potential future communication, anticipating possible moves by the aliens while remaining calm, deliberate, and careful. Every action, no matter how small, could influence the encounter. As days turned into weeks, the aliens remained cautious. The fleet adjusted its position, maintained a careful distance, and continued monitoring Earth's transmissions. The general and his council understood that humanity was not to be underestimated. These humans had demonstrated awareness, patience, and deliberate strategy. That combination had disrupted the aliens' assumptions and created uncertainty. Back on Earth, the team continued to reflect on the situation. They realized that their calm, deliberate approach had changed the dynamics of the encounter. The aliens were no longer simply observers. They were participants in a silent dialogue, forced to question assumptions and reconsider strategies. Humanity had achieved something extraordinary. Influence without aggression, presence without provocation. The lead official summarized the lesson for the team. We have shown that intelligence, awareness, and careful communication can be as powerful as technology. We have created hesitation, and that hesitation is a tool. We must continue to observe, learn, and prepare. The aliens may be advanced, but they are not infallible. And we have demonstrated that we can hold our own, even across light years. The humans continued their careful work, monitoring the alien fleet, analyzing signals, and preparing for any eventuality. They understood that this was only the beginning. The aliens were cautious, deliberate, and curious. Every transmission, every observation, every decision could influence the course of interactions for years to come. And far away, the alien fleet continued to monitor Earth, uncertain, cautious, and alert. Humanity had spoken, and the pause, hesitation, and careful attention of the aliens were proof that Earth had made an impression. The galaxy was taking notice, and humanity's awareness, intelligence, and careful communication had ensured that Earth would never again be seen as a simple, passive world. The humans knew that the weeks had passed since Earth had sent its careful response to the alien hail, and the tension in the universe had quietly shifted. The alien fleet remained within observable range, but their movements were slow, deliberate, and cautious. It was as if every ship in their armada had been frozen by the realization that the humans they had once underestimated were neither naive nor easily intimidated. Back on Earth, the team at the Deep Space Communication Array maintained constant vigilance. Monitors flickered with data, signal waves, and energy readings, but the mood in the room had changed. There was no longer the edge of fear or uncertainty that had once accompanied first contact. Instead, a quiet confidence had settled over the team. They had learned in real time that intelligence, patience, and careful communication could wield influence even across light years of distance. The lead official addressed the team, their voice calm but firm. "The aliens are cautious," they said. "They are analyzing every pattern, every transmission, and every subtle signal we send. We have demonstrated awareness, preparedness, and deliberate strategy. That has caused hesitation, and that hesitation has given us an opportunity we cannot ignore." The scientists and technicians nodded, understanding the gravity of what had been achieved. Humanity had not fired a single weapon, had not displayed its full capabilities, and had not issued threats. Yet, through clarity, intelligence, and careful presence, they had compelled an entire fleet of advanced beings to pause and rethink their assumptions. That pause alone was extraordinary. Far away, in the alien fleet, the general continued to oversee operations with unprecedented caution. Officers whispered among themselves, analyzing Earth's transmissions, monitoring every energy fluctuation, and debating the next course of action. The general knew that any misstep could be costly. Humanity had displayed intelligence, strategy, and presence, all without aggression. That combination had forced the aliens into a state of uncertainty. We underestimated them, the general said to the council. Their technology is limited compared to ours, but their strategy is deliberate. They are aware, prepared, and cautious. They have created hesitation, and that hesitation has altered everything. One council member asked, "Do we withdraw? Or do we continue observation?" The general paused, considering the options. We withdraw slowly, maintaining surveillance. We continue to observe, but we avoid actions that could provoke them unnecessarily. They have proven that they are capable of deliberate thought. That alone makes them a species to respect. As the alien fleet adjusted its position, moving carefully away from the inner solar system, Earth's team observed every movement. Sensors recorded shifts in energy patterns, formation adjustments, and communication fluctuations within the fleet. The humans realized that the aliens were not retreating out of fear, but out of caution and respect. Humanity had projected confidence without revealing its full strength, and the aliens had recognized that this was a species not to be underestimated. The lead official addressed the team again. "This is the moment we have been preparing for," they said. "They are pulling back, but their curiosity remains. We have created space for observation, analysis, and learning. Every day of monitoring adds to our understanding of them, and every careful action ensures that we maintain our position without provoking unnecessary conflict." The team continued their work, analyzing signals, refining simulations, and preparing for the next stage of interstellar interaction. Every member understood that patience and deliberate observation were now the most powerful tools they had. They were no longer simply responding to a hail. They were shaping a dialogue, influencing decisions, and demonstrating that humanity could hold its own in the galaxy. Meanwhile, the alien fleet remained at a measured distance. Officers continued to study Earth's transmissions, attempting to understand the intentions behind each pattern. The general convened the council again. "We cannot underestimate them," he said. "They have not acted aggressively, yet they have forced hesitation across our entire fleet. That requires analysis and respect. We will continue to observe, but with caution and precision." The council discussed potential scenarios for future interactions. Some advocated sending subtle probes or signals to test Earth further, while others recommended maintaining the current distance to avoid unnecessary risk. Every option was debated carefully. The general emphasized that understanding humanity's awareness and decision-making capabilities was now more important than demonstrating power. Back on Earth, the humans monitored these discussions indirectly through the subtle patterns observed in the fleet's behavior. Energy fluctuations, formation adjustments, and communication pauses all indicated that the aliens were analyzing humanity's responses carefully. The team realized that their careful, deliberate approach had achieved something remarkable. They had influenced a far superior fleet without weapons or aggression. The lead official addressed the team with a sense of pride. "We have demonstrated that intelligence, patience, and awareness are powerful tools. The aliens are cautious, analyzing every move we make. That hesitation is an advantage. We continue to observe, learn, and prepare, and we do so without provoking fear or conflict. That is how we establish presence and influence in the galaxy." The human team understood that this moment marked a turning point. Humanity had proven that it could communicate, observe, and influence without relying on advanced weaponry. Their deliberate strategy had compelled the aliens to reconsider assumptions and approach humanity with caution and respect. The humans had achieved a position of influence simply through awareness and careful action. As days turned into weeks, the alien fleet maintained its distance while continuing to monitor Earth. The general and his council analyzed every transmission, every movement, and every pattern with painstaking care. They understood that any miscalculation could lead to unintended consequences. Humanity had demonstrated that it was capable of thoughtful, deliberate communication, and that alone had created hesitation and respect within the fleet. The humans on Earth continued their work with focus and diligence. They refined communication strategies, analyzed alien reactions, and prepared for potential future interactions. Every observation was recorded, every pattern noted, and every simulation considered. They understood that the galaxy was watching, and that humanity's careful, deliberate actions had set a precedent for how Earth would be perceived by other civilizations. The lead official summarized the situation for the team. "We have established awareness, confidence, and presence," they said. "The aliens are cautious and hesitant. That hesitation gives us the opportunity to observe, learn, and prepare for future interactions. We have achieved something extraordinary: influence without aggression, presence without provocation, and respect without force." In the alien fleet, the general addressed his officers. "This species is different," he said. "Their technology may be limited, but their awareness and strategy are remarkable. We withdraw slightly, but we continue to observe. Every action we take must consider their potential. They have forced hesitation in an advanced fleet, and that is unprecedented." The fleet adjusted its formation, maintaining distance while keeping Earth within observational range. The humans continued to monitor, aware of every subtle movement. They understood that patience, intelligence, and deliberate communication had shifted the balance of perception. Humanity had shown that it could influence advanced civilizations without force, and that lesson would carry through future encounters. For the first time, the humans realized the full significance of what had occurred. They had communicated, influenced, and observed a technologically superior civilization, shaping its perception through clarity, intelligence, and strategy. The aliens' withdrawal was not a retreat born of fear, but a calculated recognition of humanity's awareness. The team reflected on the larger implications. Humanity had demonstrated that careful observation, deliberate communication, and strategic awareness could create influence far beyond technological limitations. They had forced hesitation in a fleet of advanced beings, earning respect without revealing their full capabilities. That was a lesson that would shape humanity's approach to the galaxy for generations. As the alien fleet continued its measured observation, the humans understood that they were now participants in an interstellar dialogue. They had proven that intelligence, patience, and deliberate action could shape perception and create opportunities. The galaxy had taken notice, and humanity had begun to establish a reputation as a species capable of awareness, strategy, and influence. The lead official addressed the team one final time. "We have achieved something remarkable," they said. "We have influenced a far superior fleet, not through force, but through intelligence and deliberate action. The aliens are cautious, hesitant, and respectful. That hesitation is an opportunity. We observe, we learn, and we prepare. And we continue to assert humanity's place in the galaxy without aggression, without provocation, but with awareness and presence." The humans continued their careful monitoring, aware that every transmission, every observation, and every calculation could influence the future. They had shown that awareness and intelligence could achieve what force alone could not. The aliens, cautious and hesitant, were proof of